Hello, hello, and good evening, and welcome to Rangers Radio. Tonight you've been joined by myself, GB, JM, and young Robert. How are we all doing, gents?
Evening, JB. Evening, Robert.
Evening, GB. Evening, JM. I'm doing okay. How's yourself, GB?
Well, it's ever exciting with Rangers, isn't it? You sit bored on a Sunday night, and all hell breaks loose, and we obviously. The two of you joined us obviously on Sunday night for a kind of a small insight, but I'm glad the two of you are on tonight with me because it was only a couple of weeks ago that we brought up the stick or twist moment. And JM, I believe you were a twist at that time.
I was a twist at the time.
Young Robert was a stick, and I was a bit in the middle. So, JM, we'll go to you first, mate. Michael Beale eventually was given his jotters, and was it too little, too late, or was it basically the right time? Do you think that the board made the right call at the right time?
Yeah, I think to be honest, just it sounds to leave in a business stream out of fairness. I think the board knew and the fans knew the right time was following that Old Firm game at the beginning of September. You could tell right away then they'd lost the crowd, you'd lost the back and just the boos at certain substitutions, different things. Fans had enough before that, and that's not just because we were losing 1-0 to them. That was because we were seeing a poor pre-season, poor performances and nothing. And then obviously he was given that international break, see if you can get the troops together. And even though the results came, statistics came, we had whatever his name in the hat was coming on telling us 4 wins, 4 clean sheets, a good result against Betis, it's getting better. But we knew the performances weren't getting better. And obviously that on Saturday, that was the nail in the coffin, wasn't it? That was enough. Definitely time for him to go.
Yeah, Robert, I think we were kind of more giving the chance kind of to redeem yourself. It was only 4 points after the international break. And I mean, there's still a lot of games left to turn that around. But I don't think Beale was ever the same after the international break. His body language since he came back, I mean, sometimes I was just putting it down to maybe he was being hard on the players and he was just trying to get something out of them. But looking back at it now, his body language since the international break, did he maybe know since then that his time was up at Rangers?
It's a good possibility, mate. You would imagine there maybe has been conversations after the break or even maybe during it about how the performances weren't there, but they were grinding results, even if it was a 1-0 win. I did say I would stick with Beale, and that was basically just because of the backing that he got from the board. I thought it would be a wee bit of egg on Beale's face and the board's face if they did part ways, but as JM said, there was no coming back after Saturday, unfortunately. But in terms of his body language, you could see on the touchline he wasn't really animated. It was just standing, arms folded, shaking his head, and then in a press conference he was just saying stuff that we'd heard before. Not good enough, we need to improve, and we never seen that improvement in an overall period of time. We saw it in glimpses in certain games. PSV getting a draw, we've seen it in there. Beating Betis, we saw glimpses there, but it wasn't consistent, and that's what's unfortunately cost him his job. That there was no consistency, and when we did pick up some momentum going forward, we couldn't carry it on. It was very lacklustre, and I think he knew it was a game-by-game basis, and time was coming up, and obviously that fell on Sunday night.
JM, do you think the frustration that's been shown, obviously, with the fans, especially the last couple of games, that it's been built up frustration, even for probably when Gio was given his jotters? Do you think this has been just coming and it's partly been Beale, but do you think the fans have actually just been, letting rip because they're sick of what they're seeing on the park?
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the last time. People pay a lot of money to go to Ibrox. So when was the last time you go to Ibrox for a league game now and you've been entertained and you've ran away with it, 4-5 plus, and it's been a really, really good performance? Because we can't kid ourselves on here. We talk about gaps in money and funds when it comes to the Champions League and how we should be happy at the Europa League level. The gaps with our funding compared to these other clubs in Scotland, we should be giving them hammerings on a regular basis like we receive sometimes in Europe. And fans aren't stupid. We should be seeing a bit better. And you're right, maybe it is a build-up of that frustration, and he was maybe given a benefit of a doubt when it wasn't his players. But when you've had a full pre-season and you've seen it's getting no better when he's had time to put his ideas in, his players that he spent a lot of money for, the patience, rightly so, wore really thin.
Robert, do you think he was maybe with the way Beale was saying certain things and stuff like that, especially when he first came in and stuff, saying it's time to get the handbrake off the team and that, and then when he was signing players, especially like say Fuentes saying he was got to take us to the next level, and the next level was never coming. I think they probably make a rod for his own back with some of the comments he came out with.
I think you could say that. I know in press conferences have passed as well, a lot of fans have said that he says too much, and sometimes he's obviously a bit off more than they can chew. In terms of taking players as a club to the next level, it puts pressure on the likes of Cifuentes straight away. And I know we've maybe not seen the best of him yet either. So certain things he did say put him under pressure, put players under pressure, and ultimately, as a manager of Rangers Football Club, you're in immense pressure straight away. And it's possibly he didn't help himself with some things he did say. I know a lot of people did say that he spoke far too much and it wasn't like the Gerrard where he played this cards close to his chest. Beale was quite open, speaking about players individually, collectively, tactics, and taking that handbrake off. And we never did see that. And that's unfortunate we didn't, because you now sit and wonder if we did let the handbrake off. Obviously, I don't think we'd be having this conversation, but you kind of rue the day of not being able to see that. But we have to move on, and that's what the board now have to do, is move on and make sure they get the correct decision and not let something like this reoccur again. Otherwise, we could be sitting here again having the same conversation in 10, 12 months' time.
I'll take this wee point to you, and I'll give you my kind of wee input on it. Was there a moment for both of you where Beale kind of gave you alarm bells? Because I said on Sunday night that basically last season I was kind of just giving him a free hit, basically. The last game probably against Celtic with the 3-0 result, that kind of it did give me a small bit of hope that there was something going to come good in the summer. But where the alarm bells for me kicked in was that first game with Kilmarnock, when you seen Todd Cantwell sitting on the bench, turning around and saying that he wasn't ready for that game that day, told me there was something either wrong in the camp or there was a rift between they two at that point. Not saying that's what happened, but that was alarm bells for me, because surely you want to go into that first game of the season and you want all guns blazing, you want the 3 points in the bag, and you want to start off on a positive note. And that was where the alarm bells sounded for me. JM?
You stole my one. No, I've got a couple of them. But yeah, and on that one as well, what on that point you made about Cantwell, what really alarmed me about that as well was after the game when he says, the game was always going to be a tight away from home. We know these teams sit deep. So I was thinking, is Todd Cantwell not going to start 50% of our games or all of our away games? Because that's how it's going to be. Our best player last year. No, to be honest, the alarm bells for me, what was worrying was quite early on, to be honest, when pre-season just shape and the players he was letting go when it looked like he wasn't going to play with any wingers and he was shifting goals and pace out of the team. More of them. Alarm bells were quite early on for me tactically in pre-season, to be honest. Just didn't like the way we were setting up. Could see everyone who came on here and different fans said it, could see the weaknesses, and most were proven right, to be honest, because we saw it and he's ended up trying. When he's ran out of ideas, he went back to this 4-2-3-1, but with players that he didn't actually want in his squad to begin with.
Robert, yourself, mate, when was the alarm bells ringing?
For me, it was probably the Celtic game at Ibrox. I can also say the first game, losing to Kilmarnock, you go straight away. Maybe that's one to pick up on because of where it was and who it was against, and the team selection that day. Saying that Todd Cantwell wasn't ready, but he brought in Goldson, who hadn't had much training time or a pre-season as such before the game. It kind of did raise an eyebrow or two. For me, the Celtic game is probably the turning point where it just didn't look right. I get GM's point about pre-season, the shape. For me personally, I think that's maybe a bit too early because obviously we've brought the players in and we're trying to find a shape, find a formation that suited everybody and worked. It wasn't really came to fruition, but certainly the Celtic game, just the squad that they had that day, they weren't great. Players are missing, and we just couldn't take advantage of that, especially at home with a full crowd as well. You could sense a bit of nervousness about it. Getting 1-0 at half time and not really recovering from that was an alarm bell for me.
Aye, I think, like I says, we could probably pick the bones of it all night with bits and bobs now with hindsight, I suppose, you know what I mean? But it's done now. I think, JM, it's a harsh lesson for the current board to kind of realise that the next time we are going for a manager, that we've really got to do a lot of kind of background on them. We've got to, like, near him to Beale, he had that kind of link because he was a part of the 55 squad and stuff like that. But this is the QPR job and stuff like that. He was starting to go downhill at QPR when we were starting to look at him and stuff like that. So I think, like I say, going forward, the board have really got to be very, very careful in their selection. And I think we need a manager now. I don't think we need somebody that's a good coach or somebody that's got potential. We need some guy that's tried and tested, I think, now, JM.
Yeah, we need somebody that can manage a group and set expectations, don't we? Let them bring in as many different coaches as we want, but you need someone that's maybe going to... Bill, you always talked about, I love being on the grass, I love doing the coach, I love doing the training. If you're doing that, you're not got to step back, you're too close to them. I want, like you say, we need someone that's going to be managing the club, bringing back a bit of discipline and standards, and just, realising that the point is to win here and not all these guys having a good time on the training bench.
Yep, well said. Right, obviously it's a phone-in show. The guys don't want to be listening to us moaning and groaning all night, so let's hear from you. Maybe we'll hear from you. Robert, I'll come to you then now, mate. I've maybe jumped the gun, to be fair. Robert, let's say it's a harsh lesson for the board to learn now.
It is, and they'll obviously, hopefully, learn from it, and that they bring in somebody, personally, I think is experienced, but also somebody that has a football in mind as an in-between the manager and the board, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that throughout the show. I can have a link up, whether that's a director of football or just an advisor, somebody that, if it's not a manager who knows Rangers or Scottish football, they have a link between the board and the manager, just to give that bit of advice, because these guys are in charge at the board, let's face it, they're all businessmen, they're business orientated, and for me personally, they're not football orientated, so they're not going to kind of put that mindset to their decisions. And I think that's where we maybe need somebody just to guide them as such, so they don't make any of these mistakes again, and hopefully it's a lesson learned in that way. It's a better, brighter future for us.
Right, let's get the jingle on. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
That's it, Bears. The phone lines are open, so let's hear from you. Let's get you in tonight. Big talking point, obviously. We're hunting for a new manager. We've got a big game on Thursday as well coming up, and we've got an interim manager in place. JM, happy with the appointment of Stephen Davis and Alex Rae now to kind of hold the reins and hopefully get us through these next two games?
I think as good as anybody, especially with Stephen Davis, you're probably going to get on short notice. Obviously, the couple of guys coming in with are probably obviously involved and around with the club. Just about getting a guy in there that the players are going to respect in short term, and obviously Stephen Davis is going to get a ton of respect in there. Obviously, some of the players have played with him. If not, some of the players will get quickly to know just how good he was and what he done for our club. Obviously, you got Alex Rae in there, won a league title with us. Big Rangers supporter. A lot of people are crying out for that. Might again help in the short term. to get a rocket up him. And obviously, the other guys coaching, helping on the grass, that'll obviously help as well. But for the interim, I've got no doubt that Stephen Davis can do the job while we're looking for a manager and get these players going.
Robert, for me, I think we could have picked probably any two better games for the lads to come in and hopefully try and get us there the line. As a game away in Cyprus, right enough, but like I says, I think we've got a squad there that should be able to compete. And like I says, come Sunday for St Mirren again, we've got a good enough team there to try and compete, as long as, like I says, they just get the tactics right.
Exactly, mate. And I listened to Stephen Davis yesterday speaking, and they asked him about, as a manager, and I know it's early days, and he said that himself, it's early, he can't really comment too much, but how he was going to play. I think that's what we're all excited and interested to see, how he sets up. But a point I picked up on was, he said that to get pride back, that's the biggest thing right now, is getting some pride and belief back and amongst us as supporters and the players. And the way he said something as well about the setup that suggested to me there may be a slight change of either formation or a kind of setup, whether that's maybe pushing Tav forward into a right winger, or whether it's changing to a back three away from home in Europe. We'll soon see. But he's certainly a man that's going to be respected in the club. He's been here for 2 spells. We know what he's done internationally, so he's certainly going to be respected from the players. And I think that might just give them a wee extra bit of motivation because of who he is. And again, wish him all the best. And hopefully we can, as I say, get the 2 games out the way and good results and focus on the managerial search.
No, perfect. Just quick question, mate. I think we've been joined with Dan. Is it Dan? How are you doing, mate?
Good evening, the Rangers Radio. How are we doing? It's obviously Stephen Davis has come in, and in my opinion, if he hits the ground running, get him as manager. Do you know what I mean? How does the panel think about
that? I'll take it to JM first, but personally, I think Dan. I think he's got no experience, and we've already got rid of a guy with hardly any experience. So, JM, I'll leave that one with you, mate.
Yeah, no, I can understand what Darren's asking and saying there. Because obviously, if a guy comes in, gets a team playing, and starts winning, why wouldn't you want to keep him on board? But I think we've seen with other interns in the past and in other football, obviously, like, you get that bounce back quite quickly, don't you? Players get a buzz because maybe a manager they didn't like has gone, or they're enjoying it. But long term, I'm not really sure it's an option yet. Like Jamie said, not a lot of experience. And to be honest, I've got a feeling it won't be in Steve Davis's plans either, because he says he's got hopes of managing in his career further. And I think if he's going to want to take this job in the future, he's going to want to be doing it on top of his game, not just starting out with a group of players he hasn't signed, or, maybe with a style he's not wanted to play either.
Dan, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think he's got to show enough in 2 games that to nail down the Rangers manager's job?
Obviously, with the group of players, he's not really got much to kind of play with. You know what I mean? And it's great. It's a hard job for anybody to come into. Obviously, the next manager to come into that. But do you think that the players that are injured? I've heard a couple of shows. The players that are injured, do you think they'll be back quite quicker than do you know what I mean? Obviously, because he did lose the dressing room, and at some point, do you know what I mean? So you think the players that are maybe some of them are injured, like Ruth and stuff, and do you know what I mean? Do you think they'll be back a lot quicker because Beale's not there? Do you know that? But obviously 2 games is a bit. Obviously, I think to find out if he'll be the manager, but if he hits the ground running, do you know what I mean? He's in a good chance.
I'll take it to Robert. Robert, mate, your thoughts on Stephen Davis? If he shows a style of play and he goes out and smashes these next 2 teams 5-0, 5-0, I think he might be in with a shout.
If it's 5-0, 5-0, he's got a chance. But unfortunately, the one thing he doesn't have a lot of is time. And I think that will go against him getting considered for the job, first and foremost. Secondly, I don't believe he's got his full coaching badges, and that's why Alex Reyes had to come in for the European games. So if we're appointing Davis as our full-time manager, we would need to appoint an assistant who has the coaching badges for Europe as well, I believe. I just don't think he's going to have the time to get a strong style and system over these 2 games. We know the party today. Interesting enough, as Darren said, Kemar Roof and Nico Raskin were on that flight to Cyprus. How fit they are, we don't know. I did see that Roof's scan was not as bad as first feared in his groin. And Raskin coming back, it's obviously a boost. And I know we mentioned it the other night that, and we weren't saying that players were faking injuries, but when a new manager, whether it's interim or a new manager, can be watching, you don't want to be an injured player. You want to be playing, showing what you can do. And as I said, these players might not be 100% fit, but given what we have currently, if they're 80%, you're not going to leave them at home. You're going to take them on that flight with you. And I dare say they'll maybe be used at some part of the game. Whether they start, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out more tomorrow at the press conference from Stephen Davis. But I do think that, unfortunately, he's not got the time to put a full stamp to deliver his case as manager. And it's whether he wants it or not as well. He might, as James said, he's wanting to do it maybe in the future, but maybe not so now. No qualms about him staying on as a coach or within maybe the academy or something. I kind of link to some department. I don't think he's at that stage or getting that time that he's going to do a managerial job.
Dan, Stephen Davis, I mean, obviously he's a legend. He's got so much experience and stuff like that. I wouldn't be opposed to him maybe help him out with the next manager, being in and around the team. I think our next manager's got to have something like that. I hear a lot of people saying it's got to be a Rangers man and stuff like that, but I think if you've got a good, strong number 2 next to you that kind of understands our league, it'll go a long way to helping you to get silverware.
Yep, definitely, 100% agree with that. And obviously, the league's no over. Do you know what I mean? There's obviously still plenty of games, but it's very difficult to come into the obviously points behind. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully Davis just picks us up. Do you know what I mean? And it's about obviously the players as well. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully they just click as well. Obviously with the new manager coming in, they'll probably be a bit unsettled, I would imagine, because obviously he's been sacked and whatever. There'll be all emotions going. You would imagine, but obviously into Thursday and just see how Stephen Davis goes. You know what I mean? First game, so it's obviously a difficult game, and hopefully just get behind them and get the points in the bag.
I'll take your point, Dan, as well. See, on the injury front side of things, I'll take that to JM because something that was interesting was it's only been so far. Cantwell's came out and wished the ex-manager well on bringing him to Rangers, etc., etc. I've not really seen too much else for the squad. JM, is that quite telling?
I think it can be, considering in this day and age where players seem to be on social media for everything, don't they? It seems to be the standard thing, doesn't it? They go, and I think, like we discussed earlier with the body language and different things, I mean, it's a bit of a generic thing to say, a fallout, but I think it was quite clear performances and maybe just with the body language to players to manager and vice versa on the touchline that a lot of players have lost faith in what they were trying to do, and maybe that's led to a bit more stuff behind the scenes. But we'll never really know that, will we? But it is quite telling. There wasn't exactly a queue of people saying thank you for your work or anything like that, was it?
No. Dan, what do you think, mate? Do you think that's quite telling what's been going on maybe behind the scenes that we don't really know about? Because I think by the end of that Aberdeen game, I don't think there was too many players really showing that they wanted to fight and get that result corrected for the manager.
Aye. Well, obviously gone with a couple of guys on that go to the game. Obviously week in and week out, you know, and they left. They just couldn't take any more. They were scunnered it. You know what I mean? Even the fans, you know. And I think it was time. Then you knew it was obviously. But then that and Saturday was just icing on the cake. Do you know what I mean? Final nail on the coffin, as they say. Do you know what I mean? So, but it was a bit strange for Cantwell to say that, wasn't it? Really.
I was asking the boys as well, Darren, about was there a moment with Beale that was sending you alarm bells that kind of made you think that this wasn't going to be his season?
I heard that at the start of the show. But when it's thing with alarm bells for me was obviously the Kilmarnock game. When obviously you dropped points, it was like, yeah, here's alarm bells, and then it was the Old Firm game. Obviously right after that, so that his time was really up. Do you know what I mean? And then I think that's when the players started kind of losing faith a wee bit, in my opinion.
Do you think the board were right to keep him keep going with him after the Old Firm game, or do you think that was the time to pull the trigger?
I think that was the time to pull the trigger after the Old Firm game. We were about 1-0 because that was an opportunity to beat them. But obviously because they weren't that great, we were at home and just looked like most of the players didn't really want to get the result from them, in my opinion.
JM, I think the Old Firm game, it was, I think that did actually add extra pressure to Beale leaving the club purely because how weak Celtic were. I don't think he would have had the chance to play a weaker Celtic team, and especially at home in a full crowd of Rangers supporters. I think that was when it was telling, because to be fair, I think if I remind right, our squad was probably at its strongest. JM.
Yeah, to me, that was the game where I think Beale, there was a lot of doubters and people could have maybe been brought back on side after sort of the defeat at Kilmarnock or whatever. But that was the game where Beale really lost the fans. Like you said, there was a bit of going to Ibrox out there. There was a bit of excitement when you see us starting 11 and you see theirs, because to be honest, they were weaker maybe at 60, 70%, if that. And you thought we could go at these and make a result and actually put pressure on them, because they wasn't too happy following a draw as well. But the way we played, the way it wasn't just players' performances, it was clearly the way he had set up the team to sort of sit deep, and almost we were too scared of their pace to try and attack them ourselves. And then when it got to the second half, and then one of the first times I've seen a substitution booed when and it wasn't for the fact he was taken off Ruth. I think it was more the fact he was keeping Dessers on the pitch. And that's not only the manager being booed for a decision, that's a new big money signing already being booed. You're only 4 games into the season, and I think that was quite telling.
Hi, Robert. I think let's say is that the manager's decisions that day, the way he set up, etc., etc. I just think that was probably the time where he did lose the fans. As much as we were probably saying in here to try and keep going, hopefully it'll click. I think most of the fans gave up that day after. Gave up in Beale.
Aye, and as you said, mate, it was a weakened Celtic side that at home we should have beat comfortably. And it's probably a game that you wanted to actually come up when the performances weren't doing well and you were maybe feeling a bit low about things. It's probably the game you wanted to try and get that hunger back in the stomach. And we didn't see that from the players. We didn't see it from the management. They certainly saw it from the fans. And as James said, the reaction for Roof going off, not heard in my lifetime at Ibrox at all. And then obviously from there on, it was a bit of a game by game basis. And I think the only reason that Beale wasn't let go after that was because of the results he got. Although the performances weren't there, beating Betis, beating Motherwell, and beating Livingston, that probably saved them, to be honest with you. I dare say that after that Celtic game, there was a conversation of the next game is vital for you, and he got that result, and he got the next one, and the next one, and then lo and behold, it was one more defeat, and that was obviously the Aberdeen game on Saturday. So it looked maybe that as soon as the fans started turning, it was game by game basis from there on in, and it's hard to come back from that once your fans have spoken.
Aye, 100%. Dan, I hope that kind of answers your point, mate. Obviously now we've moved on for Beale. We've got a game on Thursday. If the players weren't under a microscope before, they're got to be under an even bigger one come Thursday now, and especially, like I says, there could be a new manager on the horizon watching the team. They've got to go out and perform on Thursday. That done?
They've got to go out and get the job done. It's a 1-0, just get it home. Do you know what I mean? Move on, and that's a good win. But you don't know. Obviously, there could be emotions going high. You know what I mean? Obviously, with the new manager coming in, I know Davis is obviously been a player, knows the club obviously inside out. So just hopefully he does all right and just gets the result we need and do you know what I mean? Back to Glasgow.
Brilliant, mate. Right, mate, we've got a few more callers that are waiting to come in, so I've got to let you go. And what it says, don't be a stranger, just give us a phone any night during the week, mate. You've made some good points tonight, and it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Okay, thanks for taking my call. And a big shout out to the Techie boys for obviously keeping this show going. All righty, and catch up with you.
Appreciate it, mate. Cheers for that.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers, Darren.
Darren obviously was talking about like injuries coming back and stuff like that. It would not surprise me on Thursday that some of these new signings have an absolute blinder of a game.
Wouldn't shock you at all, such as football, isn't it? Thing is, and then maybe Michael Beale be sat on his sofa thinking, what did I do? But that's probably the point, isn't it? Like, just seems as if we signed all these players and it's so and like we've said it before about this handbrake off and that. And you see videos, because all we can watch is videos. I can't pretend I knew who Cifuentes was before we signed him or anything like that. And you see these videos and you hear his stats. He's scoring goals. He's getting assists. You're hearing Beale say, oh, he gets forward. He's going to break the lines and whatnot. And then we're playing him in a sort of deep holding midfield role. Again, with Cantwell, we're playing him in a left side of a free away from home at Ross County. And we're playing... we're signing these players, and it was as if Beale didn't know where to put them. Almost as if it was like a teenager on Football Manager just signing his best players with no formation.
Very, very. That's his mental strange. And talking about things that are mental, we've been joined by old Davy. How we doing?
Okay, you called me. No, you'll be here for my lawyer. Hey, Ox, you need a word with him.
Ox is listening in, don't worry.
Oh, I know. Star man. How you doing, guys?
Good, Davey. Glad to have you on, buddy. You've made small points on Sunday, mate, so it'd be good to kind of hear how you're feeling now, mate, since it's been a couple of days now.
I just a wee couple of points you were talking about Davis here. Maybe there's no chance Davis will get that job. And I had a wee laugh to myself. I don't know if it was a young boy says, if we win 5-0 and 5-0, I must be watching some other team. You know what I mean? 10 goals. We've not scored that all season. That's not going to happen.
Davey, it was tongue in cheek, mate. It was me. It was saying it like obviously.
But I mean, a serious point. The serious is the inevitable has happened. But as I was saying on Sunday night as well, you're going to do a rebuild. He's gone. That's history. But the rebuild's no gone. We're still left with the dross. And I've said before, and I've said it again, if you're going to do a rebuild, you start to the back. We've done that. We've got a good goalie. And we've got 3 duds in front of him. And you get 2 of them, it's a clique. And there should be... And if you can't sort that, there's no manager on this planet will be able to turn them into decent players, because they're done. So that's Davis's first problem. His biggest problem is who's going to... this is my point, guys. This is just my opinion. Who's all going to stay? And I'm afraid, I'm worried that he's going to get in there. Hopefully, nobody old pals act, because they're all his pals and his mates. He's going to get in there like he hardly knows these guys. And I'm just worried that if he does anything drastic, which really needs done, are they going to down tools? What do you think?
I'll take it to Robert. Robert, I think this is for these next 2 games, Davis will just be looking to get 2 W's on the board. I mean, I think he'll not be wanting to change too much because he's not got very much options. So I think we're ravaged with injuries already, so he's going to have to kind of go with the status quo, I think.
No, exactly, mate. It is 2 games, and unfortunately he's going to have to go with the squad that is. I know obviously we've mentioned Raskin and Roof back on the flight. Danilo's back in training as well. I've seen pictures of him. But it's whether they're going to be used or not, and if they're not, then it's the same squad from the weekend. And as David said, you're stuck with a squad now until January, until the window opens. So it's down to Davis and Alex Ray and obviously the rest of the guys that have came in to try and get something out of these guys. And sometimes a change of manager, we've seen it before in the past, a change of manager just sparks a player into life. for some bizarre reason, it could be a simple change of system, a change of how they want an individual to play, whether it's a striker, if they want him just staying up top, dropping deep, whatever. Some slight change can just bring a player into life. If Davis can get that for 2 games out of 11, 13, 14 players, brilliant, perfect, his job's done. But then whoever comes in has to maintain that, and it will be a change again, because it's not going to be the same system as Beale, the same system as Davis over these 2 games. It's going to be a case of change and change again until we get a consistent basis.
David, I think what we should hope for is with the new manager that comes in, I'm hoping that we get a guy in that will come in and mix it up. I think we've had 2 previous managers that's kind of took on Gerrard's team to a certain extent, and I think the next manager really does have to go in there and mix it up a bit. I don't think he'll be able to get rid of everybody, but I do hope that he kind of goes in there and makes a statement, if you know what I mean. What he does with that, I'm on the fence with. I can't see him just going in and dropping Tav or something like that, or dropping some of that front line. I mean, I think he's going to have to balance it out because he's got a season there still to play out. But it will be interesting what the new manager does. But I think he's definitely got to go in and make some subtle changes.
I totally agree with you. But I mean, if you're talking about a different attitude or the way they approach the game, if you're talking about Dessers, you need to hypnotise him, and he probably still do as usual. So that's the predicament. I can't see that many players we have, which is the worry, all of a sudden turning up for Steve Davis. I can't see that for a minute, guys. I know in the past you've watched other managers coming in and they've lifted their game a wee bit. That what we've got to know, I don't think anybody's capable of lifting them. You can change the tactics, fair dues, you can do what you like tactic-wise. You're not going to change what they're good at doing and what they're bad at doing. And it's plain to see what they are doing, and it's rubbish.
Jai, I think when we're looking at Davis and Alex Reyna at the airport today, they're looking fresh, they're looking all kitted out. They've had a wee trip to Edmondson House with all the Castor gear on and stuff like that. So they're well fired up for it. And one thing, Davis will be reporting to this new manager on who's pulling their weight and who's no. So I think it's within the squad's interest to actually put on a show these next 2 games. Yeah,
these guys, even though they're being paid, they're fighting for the place of the new manager, aren't they? The new manager will be watching right away, he'll be watching how the players play for Beale first, and then seeing if he sees a change and be wondering why that was. But he'll want to see how they perform. I'm actually on the opposite. I don't think Davis will have a problem getting these guys to play. I think it's more of a case of these guys, for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, had lost faith in Michael Beale. And I think you'll see slightly different players coming out on Thursday. I've just got a feeling. I'm not talking that these are going to be world beaters. You're not going to turn Dessers into Pele, that's for sure. But I think you're going to see a slightly different attitude, and hopefully just a little bit quicker. Just maybe, like you said earlier, just subtle tweaks, because we are down to the bare bones.
Well, then like I says, he's got to just kind of. I think he's just got to manage these 2 games, get them through it, and get to this international break. But Davey's making good points. It would be good to hear from all the Bears out there listening. So let's hear from you. Again, maybe no. Davey.
Well done, I'll sing it. I'll sing the jingle.
Let's hear from you.
Give us a call.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Right on cue, Davey. Davey, are you not thinking though with Davis' experience as a captain and all the rest of it, that he's not going to go in there and tell them some home truths and get them fired up for this next game?
It's very, very difficult to answer that because we know what's required, but is he going to be the man that can do that? I don't know. He was on his playing days. He wasn't a man for shouting and bawling. He could organise, but I just can't see it, guys. Honest, I want to see it, but I want to see it all season, and it's not been there. I don't envy his job in the slightest. He's got one hard task, especially the 2 games that he's got. Turn that into some football players, it's going to be harder.
Well, let's cut across you, David. I think we've been joined with Derek. Are you there, mate?
Hi, mate.
How are we doing, mate? How are you feeling about the All Glasgow Rangers?
He's been sacked after the Celtic game. I think the board's got to take a fair series of criticism because this is the 5th manager we went through in 7 seasons. And I think the board's got to have a look at themselves here. And I think they should appoint Graham Souness, not as a manager, but as a go-between.
I'll take
the board and the manager.
I'll take your first point to JM about when the board should have acted and if they should take some flack. JM, the board, they have acted. They're obviously not going to accept failure where they looks at. And I think they've got to watch that when they do pull the trigger, because if they start making a kind of rod for their own back that they sack managers within 2 games, then there's not many managers out there who will be wanting to come to our club. JM?
Yeah, it was a fine line on that one, wasn't it? I think that was, I think what he's saying there as well on the phone is obviously because we were seeing as fans that the performances were no good up to that as well, wasn't it? It wasn't just one defeat to them, however, but even though I wanted, maybe that was a bit of an emotional sort of he needs to go or whatever, you've got to look at it from a business point of view. Maybe they've gone, right, we've got 2 weeks for this to sort of settle down. And if you can come back and hit the ground running, and get to this break, winning every game, the pressure might ease off a little bit. But with that, the performances needed to come as well, didn't they? But he got the 4 wins, but the performances were maybe even worse than they were before the break. So that's why he had to go. I agree. I would have wanted to pull the trigger then, but I can understand why the board didn't. And I'd like to think that after that result that they were doing behind the scenes work to try and get a new guy in, which is hopefully why we won't be waiting too long for a new manager.
Robert, I think that's the thing, isn't it? The board have got to basically analyse everything, isn't it, before they sack a manager. It's not just sacking the manager, you're sacking a backroom team as well. You've got to get people in place. I mean, like I say, you've got to make that call at the right time, knowing that you're definitely going right through it.
It's not an easy job for them to do, I dare say, because ultimately it falls back on them as well. They recruited Beale and they've supported them with the transfer funds as well. So when making a decision, it's on them as well as a reflection of themselves. And I just said earlier, hopefully they'll learn from this mistake, if you want to call it, and move forward into a more positive future. But as I said, there's a lot of logistics to think about. It's not just a case of saying cheerio, see you later after the game, and then having somebody there. There will be hopefully a lengthy period that's the right period. And I don't mean lengthy as in 6-7 weeks, but if that's what it takes to find the right man, then so be it. Because we can't just do a quick manager, you'll do the job, because they might not. And ultimately that's the risk that you don't want to be taking again. You want somebody to come in that has the expertise that can guide us forward, get a tune out of these players, and hopefully have a positive ending towards the end of the season. Listen, we're still in competitions to get titles and trophies. 7 points can be made up for the rest of the season. It's not all doom and gloom. It may feel that at the minute, but if we get somebody to come in and give us a freshness again, then I'm sure we'll be sitting having conversations about how positive things are and how things have changed since Beale, and we will look forward and we won't look back at the past.
Derek, it's amazing how the landscape's changed. We obviously getting rid of managers and stuff like that. If you think about it, like Helicopter Sunday, McLeish's last day of the season when it was all down to goal difference to win the title. If we'd probably pulled the trigger at any point in McLeish at the times, we probably wouldn't have seen the days. So it is a fine balance, you think, yeah?
But with Michael Beale, we've only seen performances. The style of football that I've been watching, even the pre-season games, is absolutely dreadful. It wasn't like it was playing great football and they were unlucky. The style of football, barring the St Johnson game, it wasn't for Jack Butland. Rangers probably wouldn't have won again this season.
Nah, good point, mate. I'll take that to actually David. David, I think that was the thing, isn't it? You can forgive a manager if you're seeing a style of play. You're, what it says, maybe you've had 100 shots in goal and it's just been an unlucky day. I think that's where Michael Beale kind of fell flat, was that we just weren't seeing the performances come. We weren't seeing constant attacks on the opposition goal.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we could all see it, so there's something tells you there's something not right if you can't see it. But apart from injuries, but I'm not going down this road about the board and all that. We've been blaming everybody bar a guy in the wee lassie that sells the pies. It's the players that's to blame. And the manager, he's away. Let's see what this mob start to turn up. And I can't see them turning up anything. I really don't. And I'm not being defeatist, guys, but if you can't go and look at that, and if some shape changes a miracle that we can start spreading the ball and play a different formation, I don't see it happening. I really don't.
Derek, you think that obviously with Davison that he's going to allow these players just to put in half-hearted performances? Do you think that, like I says, he's got to go in there, and at the end of the day, if he's got any aspirations to be a manager in the future, he'll be wanting to put in his good tactical ability into these next two games and show what he's all about?
I think some of the players are just very poor that you signed. I don't think Marner's is suited to Scottish football. My friend Pez, whatever his name is, I don't think he's suited. I think he likes too much time in the ball. I don't know if we can get a tune out of some of these players. And I was on the radio before and I listened to Barry Ferguson. The new manager that does come in, Captaincy, he's got to be removed as a captain. He's had too long and he's not a leader of men. He's not, like, in Saturday, his performance level was dreadful. And Hyde fans at full time. And when a fan says to him that he wants to see fighting determination and a bit of heart, he took it and says it's not as easy as that. I don't actually know what he actually meant. You should be, in the minute you put that jersey on, you should be giving your all. Whether you like the manager or not, I don't agree with everything they do in my job, but I've got a job to do, and I got on with it. This nonsense that he's lost to the rest of the manager. Have pride in the fans that are paying their wages.
I'll take that point. Your phone line's kind of crackling in and out, mates. But I'm going to take the point of the captain run. So I'll let you go there now, mate. Just so that's just right, because it's cutting out, bud. But I'll take a point on to the boys about your captain, all right? But thanks for phoning in. Appreciate it.
Right.
Hello.
Doing a bridge GV.
Is there anybody there?
Aye, we're here. Sorry, letting Derek go there. He's pointing on the captaincy. Who are we going to stick or twist with him?
I think for this season we'll be sticking. I think you'll have to see. I think even with especially sort of if you look at player culture and players groups, and if you're a new manager coming in, I think the last thing you want to do is take a captaincy away from someone for pick this because I don't see a reason to at the moment. I don't see another captain in there at the moment. I mean, Butland's looked good in goal, but let's not get carried away over a bloke over 6 games, and because he stands to talk with fans after a game, looks a good bloke, whatever. We'll see how that goes. No, I'll be sticking with him at the moment, and I don't think James Tavernier's half of the issues. I think he gets a lot of unfair stick. I don't think he's a problem at all, Tav.
Robert, mate?
I'm with Jim on this one. I think for the remainder of the season, we'll be sticking with Tav as captain, and then there's a decision to be made for the start of next season, whether that's somebody that's already in the club or whether somebody is brought in that has got that captain and leadership in them. We'll obviously wait and see, but I don't think it's going to change. It certainly would be an eye-opener and very ruthless if somebody comes in and goes, nope, captaincy's off at you, and gives it to somebody else. It would certainly be an eye-opener to Tav, personally, I think. But again, that could maybe cause more issues and hinder him performance-wise, because then where does that put him in a mental place of trying to get performances each week when he's just been stripped of the captaincy? It may be an issue that is left until the end of the season, as I said, and maybe somebody appointed next season. But it's who's next as well. If you want to pick a manager, can you pick a captain right now? Probably not. I think that's where maybe somebody will be signed that does have a bit of leadership skills in them.
Davey, mate, you're obviously a bit scunnered with the squad. I take it you're right up for the captain changing.
Do you know?
Welcome to the O2 messaging service.
That ox cutting into me there, eh?
A wee bit.
No, one of the saddest things I felt watching the end of that game was when they were Golson does a runner, I call him there, went up the tunnel, and then they slowly walk around Clapham, virtually an empty park. And the saddest thing was it came to the young boys who have backed them, the Union Bears have backed them, sung their guts out, even when we've been getting beaten in the past. But seeing that game there, Tavernier and them mostly Tavernier went there and he's looking at them and he was getting dogs abuse. And that's something that's got to be taken into account. Then these guys don't do that. So that was just telling you where we are going. If you lose that and you lose A boys, there's no a lot left, guys. No for me. I know what you're talking about, guys, about doing this and doing that and changing it and how it could affect people. But something's got to be done drastically. Probably maybe no next couple of games, but it's going to be rectified because he ain't the man for that job.
Well said, mate. Well said. I think we've been joined with Roy. Are you there, Roy?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. How you doing? All right?
Very well, mate. Thanks for joining us tonight. What's your points, bud?
I've got a couple of points. Probably more.
Give me one. Give me one at a time, then.
Good stuff. Just looking at the signings that Beale was allowed to make. So, knowing that we didn't have a director of football, I think what was apparent in what we found out as fans, which is also a problem as well, long term and short term, is signings that are replacing goals, right? So you let Kovac go, you let Morelos go, Tavernier, everybody complains about saying that he's not going to be the same player as he was years ago. So when we're replacing output, you've got to be able to look at key players that we had in the past, and the board has to be able to say, okay, based on data-driven decisions, did we really believe that the signings like Lammers, for example, was going to bring us 10 to 12 goals a season? Dessers, for example, if you look at his history in his past 2 seasons, we all had excuses and saying, well, these players were probably not in the best clubs, or they had excuses why they didn't perform. But really, when you actually comes down to it, that director of football, in my opinion, is so important, because he would be able to say to Michael Beale at that point, listen, we like these players, but in terms of where football is nowadays, it's all based on data-driven decisions, based on what these players can bring to the club. And I just don't think that the board actually had any information. These players seem pretty good in the outset, and maybe you had your eye, as he said, that he had his eyes on those players for a long time. But actually, when you look at their past service with other clubs, they didn't really were going to bring goals to Rangers, which, if you probably look at the reason why we are not firing all cylinders is because of our front three. We're creating chances, but realistically, we don't have a striker. We don't have wingers that are able to convert chances also into goals or wherever that may be. And I think that's where it kind of stems from, is I think the board allowed a rookie manager to make decisions where probably it shouldn't have been his decision at that point, considering that we didn't have a director of football to take his place. That's my first point. What do you guys think about that?
I'm going to take that. I'll take it round JM first. We'll probably run into that after the tune as well, mate, with your point. The director of football, JM, I think is coming to light that Michael Beale probably took on too much. And as Roy says there, the board, there's no really many footballing people on the board, so they're really putting their trust in a guy that's been at the club before, granted, but he's very inexperienced, and I think, like I says, that's been maybe something that the board are. It's got to be interesting in the next couple of weeks, because I don't know whether we'll get a director of football in first, then a manager. I mean, it's going to have to weigh up that we're going to have to get somebody in to help the next manager, definitely, JM.
Yeah, I think Roy makes a lot of very good points there, to be fair. It's as if this guy's been allowed, it's almost as if he's been, long as they're in the budget, he's been allowed to sign players, but obviously with no one to answer to or to counter argument to. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. I think, like Roy said, just to compare stats from the forwards we let go to the forwards we brought in. Now, I'd like to think a little bit more has gone on, apart from Bill going, yeah, but we get him in our team and they'll score. But if you've not got football men above other people analysing the stuff and it's just one man making the decision, it could lead to something like we've got now. We've signed, like we just said, Lammers and Dessers, and they can't get a goal between them. It's shocking, and we've let Sakala and Kolak go. I know for different reasons they both seem to want to go, but you've got to ask yourself, why did they want to go? Probably down to the manager that we've let come in, who's probably said to them, you're not part of our plans. And you're letting go maybe 25 goals plus between them two and replace them. I don't think these two guys are capable of getting 10 goals between them in a season. And is that because, like we said, he's not had anyone to answer to when signing these players?
I think so.
JM, I totally agree. I think it's like he's had free rein, and he's told the board that he can handle it all. One of the alarming things, Roy, that I heard from the manager was that he said at one point that these signings were coming in to fill the squad. They weren't coming in, like at one point he said there were starters, and the other time he was saying that they were like squad fillers. And really, he was saying the likes of Roof and Lawrence and Cantwell and all that, they were going to be the ones that are starting, and like Lammers and Dessers were going to be the ones coming off the bench. That's what was alarming for me. He kept kind of changing his strategy with that. And again, the board should have probably seen the alarm bells ringing with that.
100%, because when you're, like, for example, we all know that Roof everybody says he's a great finisher, and probably on his day is probably the best striker apart from what Celtic have. But he's not consistent. So you've got to say, how do you then replace an inconsistent striker with guys coming off the bench? It doesn't make sense, right? So as a board of a footballing club, you've got to say, okay, Michael, that sounds great, but where do we get 30 goals plus a season on players on their history that have scored 5 goals between them? Now, maybe you think you have got the magic dust that maybe other managers have not had, and maybe, in your opinion, and his, maybe he was looking at it as the Scottish League against Motherwell and whoever may be, these guys will be way above the standard of the leagues that they've been playing in. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, as an organisation, we have to be data-driven, and data-driven in football is so important from start to finish. So he can't have free rein of deciding that Lammers for example, was going to come in and give us 10 goals. He can't be seen that Dezzers is going to give us 15. Remember that a 15-goal striker will go out the door for 2 million and spend 8 million between two players. For me, as a board of directors, doesn't make good business sense. And secondly, from a footballing perspective, how can you then expect fans to get behind that? Because eventually you're going to get caught out.
Yeah. Well, hold that point there for us, Roy, because I'm getting shouted at. Way to go to your tune, mate. So sit back and relax and enjoy the tune.
Will do.
Hello, hello, how do you do? We are the boys in royal blue. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Oh, flying high, up in the sky. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. How do you do? We are the boys in royal blue. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. We'll flying high, up in the sky. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Hello, hello, how do you do? We are the boys in royal blue. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high. Wherever we go, we feel the flow. We'll keep the blue flag flying high.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
You see, Davey, I was on the ball there with the tune there. Right, we're all back.
I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good,
all back.
Good. Right, before I go back to Roy's point about the director of football and manager getting free rein, just a big shout out to the last beer standing. It's been running the last couple of months, and it's been a good wee filler for certain points of the season. It's been a good bit of fun, and ultimately it's good that some money's gone to charity, and we've obviously had our winner. It was announced in I think Sunday we announced it that Oxshire was the winner. So congrats to him. He'll be happy that he's getting another shout out the night and more food for thought for Southside. So a big thanks again to all the listeners that contributed, all the panel members that contributed, and now we've pushed on to probably the new year. I think we'll look at it again in the new year and try and do something special around about that time. Obviously, young Robert's got to be doing the Ibrox Sleep Out as well. That's been posted on the Facebook page, so please get behind that, try and support that. Robert, you want to say a couple of words on it, mate?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I appreciate that. As GB said, I'm doing the big sleep out in Ibrox in November. The link is on the Facebook media. I think it's also on the Twitter page. There is a URL which the Techie Boys kindly helped me with on Friday night after I had a bit of a mare getting that. It's tinyurl.com Rob's Sleep Out. Okay, so if you do want to donate, again, it's very much appreciated. It is all going towards the Rangers Charity Foundation, and this year it's assisting the Glasgow City Mission for Homeless and the Glasgow Sick Kids Hospital, which is obviously what the last pair standing was doing as well. So very appreciated if you can donate. I can post it again in the Facebook chat. I'll get the Techie Boys to do that just now. And thanks again if you do donate.
Right, mate. Best of luck with it when it comes. Right, back to the old Glasgow Rangers. Roy, your point, director of football. I'll take it to JM because he was touching on it a wee bit. JM, director of football, do we need that in first before the manager, or do you think we need to speak to the manager to see if he's able to cope with the demands that it's involved with a director of football as well?
I would have said, like, my whole whatever, I would have said that I didn't think you'd need a director of football necessarily. Maybe 2 years ago or something, I wasn't sure if you getting money for nothing or whatever. What were they doing? But I think with the way it seems to be going in all football, I think the club need to appoint a director of football maybe first, get a direction where they're going. They almost seem to be nearly as important as a manager at the moment with signing players, getting a culture involved, getting stuff the way it's going. I think after what I've just seen with Beale, I think it's very important that we get a director of football involved. If we're not, because I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to be able to get a top old school manager who can take care of it all himself. I think the days that are gone, so I think it's quite important we get ourselves a director of football in place to help the manager.
Robert, it seems to be the kind of modern trend. If you look at how Arsenal have revamped their kind of situation where they brought in Arteta, and then the name of their director of football is past me, but it's an ex-player, I'm sure, that's involved in the director of football down there. And just look how well they're kind of getting on with that situation. So it can work. It just needs to be the right people.
Yeah, it does, mate. I think you're talking about, was it Edu there? Is the guy doing at Arsenal?
That's the one, mate. Yep.
Again, that was a project that Arsenal went with, and it took some time. And it almost proved very beneficial for them, coming close to the league title down there. Now, I know that there's a massive gulf between Rangers and Arsenal, but in terms of a setup behind the scenes, there's certainly footprints that you can use from other teams going forward. Personally, I would have a link between the manager and the board, whether it is a director of football, or, again, if that's the title they give him, or just an advocate or an advisor, anything at all. And the name that kind of springs to me personally would be like Gordon Smith, somebody that's been at Rangers. He's also kind of well known within the game in Scotland, and whether it's as I say, a director of football title or not, it's certainly somebody that can advise the board how to make footballing decisions, and advise the manager of maybe something that they're not sure about, whether the manager is from here or elsewhere. Just that link, and I think that's maybe what was missing under Beale. We know we had Ross Wilson under Gerrard, we know how that went, but as it is, it comes down to the right person. But ultimately, you have to get the right manager, to get the right director of football, to have a good working relationship, to then have a good chemistry with the board as well. It's a domino effect. If one doesn't work, then the whole system doesn't. So you need to rely on all three parties working in cohesion, and that will make a successful Rangers.
No, well said, mate. I'll just say, cut across you, as the phone lines have been quite fast tonight. I think we joined with Ian. How are we doing, Ian?
Yes, that's right. How are you doing?
Good, mate. How are we doing? What's your points tonight, buddy?
Oh, every time I've tried to phone them, somebody's answered the question I was going to ask you, so I left a wee bit later. Just going back to when we started seeing the changes coming down. I thought after the Kilmarnock game we could forgive being the state of the pitch and the first game of the season, but after the Celtic game, I'm sure they started looking at putting their feelers out, looking for somebody after that game. If they did, then they'd probably need to have a look at themselves, because we got the feeling everything was going to start going downhill from there. Albeit they had the 4 wins after that, but weren't very good performances.
I'll take that point, Roon. I'll take it to David. David, I think the board would be very silly not to have a kind of backup plan at all times, whether if somebody came in for a manager or whether we sack a manager. You've always got to kind of have something in the back burner to protect yourself, I think.
Yeah, it's hypothetical, isn't it? Because we don't know the answer to that question. Regarding the football side of it, I'd be very, very surprised if when a new manager comes in, he will insist that he's got a director of football. I would be very surprised if that doesn't happen in that sort of context.
Aye, 100%. Roy, hopefully that kind of answers your first point, mate. What was your second point, bud?
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I think we're all in agreement there. I think that before we get a manager in place, there's still a lot of challenges at Rangers Football Club that we've kind of not addressed. So, here's my points. Okay, development. When was the last time that the fans have been given a clear long-term vision of the club's success and stability? It doesn't exist. I've never heard even Cosgrove, apart from how good he is in terms of his commercial achievements at the club. I mean, what is our long-term vision of the club, and what is our success and stability? Also, the fact that we haven't ensured that in our club, where we make decisions, there's football and experts that are involved in decision making. I think that's a massive loss to the club. I think that we've lost that, and I understand that good change is always good in the club, but I don't see where our decision making is based on football and not just commercial. I think the commercial success has been fantastic, but I think we need to take a step back and say, okay, now we know how to make commercial success. Let's now bring people onto the board and so make it very clear on what our stability and success is going to be over the next 3 to 5 years. That's never been aligned, in my opinion, for a long time. Now, another thing that just before I go is I think that when we're looking at wasting 8-10 million on a couple of players that are not known, if I look back in our history of players that have come through our youth, we haven't really managed to balance youth development and experienced signings in our club. And it's not because we haven't had the players, it's because the club hasn't had the ability to amalgamate the Scottish players, or let's say the talent coming through from the youth or the signings that we have, with experienced players in the club. And when we have done that in the past, it actually has made us very successful. So I think that we need to go back to the grassroots of what made Rangers Football Club and look at the footballing aspects rather than just commercial. Now, I also understand that we need the commercial aspect of it, but I just believe that they've lost all of those things football in the last 3 to 5 years. But we have everything in front of us if we make that decision moving forward.
I'll break it down. I'll take the kind of main point there, Roy, about it's about time we start focusing on the first team and the first team only.
Yeah.
So I'll take that to Ian. Ian, I heard Southside the other night there say something, and it's about we've got all these other projects going on at Ibrox, and yes, they are needed. But the club is now in a good financial footing, and I think it is time to maybe just let things flourish in the background, but we need to start focusing on the first team now. It's been far too long. We've probably shot ourselves in the foot with Gerrard when he was wanting more money, and then because we didn't have the money, that's probably one of the reasons we lost him. But now that we are making money, I think the next manager coming in, we've really got to just focus on him and the team and get success back first, and then we can start looking at other projects.
I agree with you. I think they've taken their eye off the ball a wee bit and concentrated more on the financial aspect, on what they can get from outside of the first team, from the supporters, rather than putting money into the first team and then expanding on that.
Robert, what's your thoughts, mate?
I agree,
sorry,
mate.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, Ian, carry on.
Right, sorry. What I said, I think our first priority is the first team. And I think they've taken their eye off the prize. They've upgraded Edmondson House. Everything looks great commercially, but they need to focus on the football side of things as well. The board we've got in place, I think, are more interested in getting money from outside influences rather than putting money into the first team to get us the results we need to be where we should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. But remember, like, since Bennett's came in, he has kind of come with a hammer. He's put people out of the club. He's promoted people. There's been umpteen different changes at board level as well. So I think, like I says, Bennett's not going to stand for failure. I think he's wanting a successful remit there. And I'll take that to Robert, mate. Robert, it's about time, and I think our board, especially how they've sacked the current manager, they're wanting success in that park.
They do, and ultimately that should be the first and foremost of every decision and thought process. Again, it's the split of football and business. Business, we're doing the best things. Football, we're not right now, and that's what's going to bring success. Having a solid, good first team is going to win you trophies, get you European runs. It's going to impact finances as well to help the business. The business can't help the football club in terms of how they play on a Saturday or Sunday. The players and the first team can only do that. And that's where I agree that they've taken the eye off the ball. They've tried to make Rangers Football Club a global business and not on the park. The European run, we should have kicked on after that, and we haven't. We've went back. And that's probably a worrying thing. Whereas everything else has went forward in terms of board changes, academy changes, up in the women's football, doing small bits here and there at the training ground and at the stadium. But ultimately, the first team was left behind until this summer, got the rebuild, and it's not paid off as yet. And that's ultimately a footballing decision that's went wrong. But now we need to get back to the footballing, business aside, and focus to get that success back. As I said, being successful in business doesn't bring you a successful Rangers on the park.
The only way we make the first team better is we bringing in the money, and that says everything. All the cogs in the wheel are moving good. We've got Edmondson House up and running now. The museum's running, so there's money obviously coming into the club. It's just about now using it the right way. And again, that's why it's going to be so vital that we get the right manager in, a guy that can spot a player, a guy that can coach a player. I mean, let's face it, even Lammers has got talent at his feet. It's just like I says, we need somebody to come in and kind of galvanise these guys and try and improve them, because end of the day, all we need to do is really focus on the Scottish League, and we should be well and far better than half the teams in the Scottish League, if no top of the league. I mean, like I says, the squad we've got there against Aberdeen and Motherwell, we should really be wiping the flare, because our budget is far better than most of them. JM.
100%. I think Boyd came on and said it on Sunday, actually, when Beale got sacked on Sky Sports News, and he quickly said, we've maybe had since Gerrard came in, a couple of good European runs. Van Bronckhorst got to the final, that's all good. But they just went about their business and took care of the league and took care, won trophies at domestic trophies. So we need to get back to winning domestic trophies, being the best team in Scotland. And like you say, we shouldn't need too many more players as it now. Anyways, these players should be good enough. They come from better pedigrees and better backgrounds. They're technically good players. They've cost a lot of money, but you need to get a manager and coaches in place that, like you say, can get a tune out of them and get them playing. But back to that, it's been a chicken and the egg situation with the business and the getting the team on the pitch, isn't it? There's been a couple of opportunities where you thought we could have kicked on with players and we haven't, but hopefully now we're starting to strike that balance with Emerson House and the museum and that in place, and stuff can be more focused on the first team now, because let's be honest, that's all fans really care about.
Davey, in days gone by, I mean, that's all it was. It was just the board and the first team, and obviously the commercial side was really just your hospitality and the strip sales and stuff like that, the season ticket sales. It has all changed now round about Rangers. We've obviously got the women's team, we've got the B team, there's umpteen other things going on. They all need money, but I think, like I says, the main focus has got to get back to the first team, Davey.
Oh, definitely. As Zoc says about me, I'm a dinosaur, so I'm a way back in the Stone Age thinking, but it is all money orientated now, but I still got to harp on back to it's plain to see that we're talking about these guys improving. I think it's pretty obvious that they are just some of them guys haven't got that. And having the things in the right place at the right time, that will come, I hope, eventually. But at this moment in time, it's a big worry. I mean, I was worried when he said Sequentis was going to take us to another level. I says, well, he is. We're doing it in the basement, you know. So, you know, come on. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you listen to all that, and everybody sort of took the bait. But wait, we're Rangers guys. It's a no surrender scenario. We'll never change our attitude. But that lot in the park need to do theirs. Well, I'm going to go, guys. So let somebody else get in and get a wee shout.
Right, David. No, that's appreciated, mate. Thanks very much, and let's say we'll speak to you soon. All right.
Good night, Ox, and all the best. I bet you must have. Who did you have your last team, Aberdeen?
I'll let Ox tell you that. I don't want to shout it live in the air in case I get in trouble.
Night, boys.
Right, take care.
Good
night. Roy, you make a great point, mate. It's the focus has got to kind of land at the first team now. We did think. I think that's where the frustration comes from, Roy. See when we won the 55, we were in a great position. We had a decent squad. All it needed was probably a wee bit more investment that summer, gone in to retain it, and ultimately I think we shot ourselves in the foot big time.
Yeah, I would also even go back to Giovanni when he took us to the Europa Cup final. He did ask the board to invest more and bring him the quality of player who can take us to the next level, but the club didn't invest in the club. Now, I just want to go back the way on that point, and I think an important point where we're all getting frustrated is injuries. So the concerns are fitness and training as well. Like, we have persistent injuries which indicate there is issues in the club for the last 3 years now. Is it to do with fitness training, recovery protocols? Is it the medical staff not good enough? Is the squad depth not good enough for us to handle the amount of games that we're going through? I think there has to be, with the new guy coming in, whoever it may be, we need to review our training and medical practices, our player workload, whatever that may look like. I mean, I don't work daily basis with players, but I mean, I would probably say that Rangers have so much bad luck when it comes to player injuries, and it can't just be unluckiness that we be hiring recruiting players that are injury prone. Is it recovery facilities that are bad? Is it the medical staff are terrible? But I mean, there's definitely something there which you can't have them as high a percentage of player injuries that we have and just call it bad luck or recruitment. There has to be also something needs to look at.
Can I ask you a question?
Department. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is this sports science all that's cracked up to be?
Well, if
you see players going off.
I think so, yes. I think so, yeah. I mean, there's sports science in every sport now, not just in football.
I'm going back a good couple of years now, but we never used to have as many injuries in the 80s and 90s. And the sports science wasn't involved.
Right. Hold on, lads, hold on. Right. One, make a point, and if you want to talk to each other, just let the other one finish first, and then that way you can hear each other, all right? Crack on.
Right, no problem. No, I've made my point, though.
Right, Roy, on you go, mate.
Yeah, I just think the new manager has to come and look at that. There has to be a review of the training and the medical practice of our Ibrox. Because it's just impossible that we can deplete our squad so quickly after 13, 14 games. Every single season, we have a good player. He has a run of games, and then he's injured. It's not necessarily, I don't think, about sports science as much. I think that there's something that we have to improve on, like everything else in the club. And I think that's something that we need to look at, because I've never heard of a club in recent times that has gone through the amount of injuries that we do. And if we're going to give this new manager a shot at changing the dynamic of Rangers play with the squad that he has, he can't go through 5 games and then have to change his first 11. So there's obviously something there as well that we need to look at. That I'm just being on the defence of the manager's side as well. Like, you know, there's obviously something wrong in my personal opinion.
Yep, no, I'll take it to JM. JM, I think that was the whole reason that Beale brought Dr. Waller back, and to a certain extent, he has kind of kept the roof ticking here. I'm trying to think who else. He got somebody else back quick. I can't remember who it was, but it did seem to improve.
Was it
but then
in the first game of the season?
Possibly it was. But like I says, I'll take it to JM. JM, I think like I says, there was small improvements, but then we seem to have went back a bit. And I don't know how it works with Waller now that Beale's away, because it was Beale that brought in Waller. So I don't know if the next manager will be able to keep him, or if it's just down to the doctor whether he wants to stay or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I believe in that, in the specific doctors or anything like that. If a player's got a broken leg, he's got a broken leg, whatever, he's carrying injury. You know, there's 100 doctors in that in the world office that are going to give you a rough ballpark figure of how long it's going to take someone to get back. I think you've got to look at the individuals, haven't you? How long it's, you know, do players want to get back? If they're being told, you know, it's 8 to 14 weeks, are they trying to get back in 8 weeks, or are they happy to sit there? Back to if they're wanting to get back and play for managers. You look at last year as well, maybe last season, you look at it, players down in tools to get moves, Alfie and that, you know, he was never coming back fit. He wasn't bothered. This season, the people fall out or whatever. Cantwell picked up or not, people, I don't know. I personally don't know how much of it is down to doctors and how much is to footballers being footballers. And
that's what my point was, JC.
Ian, 2 minutes, mate, just to go to Robert with it, because like I says, Robert's been sitting waiting to speak as well. Robert, injuries, like I says, it's something I agree with Roy that we need to look at. It's but again, that's got to come down to the next manager, because as it stands now, like I says, Davis is really just trying to get us through these next 2 games. But I think the next manager or director of football, with the manager, have got to kind of look at the whole football department and try and improve it in every area.
Of course they do, mate, and they will put their own kind of stamp on things in terms of their backroom staff, who they bring in, and if there's anybody at the club just now who they either bring up into the coaching fold or they keep just as a familiar face. But certainly they need to address an issue that has been ongoing for almost 2-3 seasons now, maybe. The last time I remember Rangers having a reasonably fit full squad was probably Gerrard. And that was with Dr. Waller. So again, I'm not sure how much of that really plays into the doctors there or the doctors not there, because he left and it was no coincidence that the injuries mounted up. But you can't say that just now, because they're growing and they're mounting up now. So does it come down to the science, the sport fitness, the doctor? Not sure. Does it come down to players getting injuries? They happen. They can happen in training. They can happen in games. We know that. It's the muscle injuries that always seem to catch players out. You can get a knock and be out for a couple of weeks or so, but it's the muscle injuries that cause problems. And I don't know how much a doctor can really impact how good your muscle is going to get you over a season. But as I say, mate, it's a full rebuild in terms of Beale promised a rebuild. We've got it, and that included him, unfortunately. It's happened at board level, it's happened at the players, and now it's going to happen with the management and the backroom staff. But again, it's getting the people, and it's the right people.
Ian, can I just kind of go in a wee bit of a different direction? What kind of manager are you looking for to come into the club? Because, like I says, Beale's done and dusted now. Davis is going to be, like I says, a couple of games, I would imagine. What are you actually looking for the next manager? Are you looking for something just totally different from what we've been seeing there the last couple of seasons?
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, we want wins.
I'm looking for somebody with a wee bit of authority, there's a wee bit of oomph in them, it's not scared to say what they say to the players. When they need to kick up the backside, that's what he gives them. And not go into a press conference and just give the mouthpiece that everybody wants to hear what the fans want to hear, what's actually going on.
Well said, Roy. What are you kind of looking for in the next manager, mate?
Personally, I would like a hybrid between someone that's got a good success rate, knows how to build a squad. I think if I'm being selfish, I would like to take a manager who's basically is going to bring his own team, the Ibrox, and make it his own and actually make a difference in the club long term. I don't want a short-term signing. I would not like to have a Gerrard-style signing this time. I think that the club needs to make a long-term decision on. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I'll just cut across you there, Roy. Been joined with Alex. Alex, can you turn your telly off in the background, bud?
I will do, my fan. I will do. Hold on. That's us, okay?
Perfect, Alex. We can still kind of hear the show, mate, in the background.
No, not really. I'll just go by what's going on. I can no talk to them in the background. I'll try and keep it low, right? I'll keep it low.
For that, mate. Right, fire away, bud.
Low. Okay.
Cool, what's your point, bud?
Yeah, hello there, guys. First time caller to the Rangers Radio. I've been on other podcasts before, like the Rangers Rabble, etc., right? All good podcasts. Look,
okay.
I want to come and talk to you about agendas. Okay?
Yep.
So, what would the agenda be of Frank Lampard, for example, to join Rangers? What would the agenda be of your Gallardo boy for Argentina?
Well, I'll take it. I'll take it to JM.
You know, what I'm trying to say to you is, I think we need somebody that's been associated with Rangers in the past and that lives and dies for Rangers. And you want me to name a name now? Because I will do. I think it's wee Derek McInnes for Kilmarnock. I've heard them being slated. But see that wee guy? That wee guy put a team out that destroyed us in the first game of the season.
Right, Alex, let me take it around the boys then and get a wee bit of opinion on Derek McInnes. JM, I think at this point in time, with the way Rangers are, I think we're open to all options. What's your opinion, mate? JM?
Yeah, I think I kind of I can see what Alex is getting at. I think what he's kind of saying is maybe if these managers come to the Rangers, maybe like Gerrard was, it was never a secret. The goal's possibly the Premier League, isn't it? They're trying to get a move or whatever, or better their careers, maybe spend 2-3 seasons or more and crack on. I personally don't see that as a problem for getting for 2-3 seasons. They're getting a move because if they're getting a move, they're doing well and they're being successful for us. I think similar to sort of our player model at the moment, if we're wanting to get someone, we've maybe got to accept that until we start to establish ourselves in Europe again. We've maybe got to accept that that's going to be an option for all of these managers. But then I can also see what Alex is saying is, do you want a Rangers man who this is their job for life and if they can get settled and go? But that's not necessarily going to work. I don't want to just employ someone because they're a Rangers man. I want someone who's going to take a team forward and be exciting.
Robert, I think the Derek McInnes one, the dream scenario would be that he came in, hit the ground running, won title after title for us and made his roots back at Rangers and stayed forever. I mean, that would be the ideal scenario. But football now is about progression and ambition, and you tend to find a lot of these managers now, Robert, once they get to a certain point or once they've got enough titles, they do want to move on and try something different. Robert?
They do. And if it is McInnes that does get the job, I don't believe he will, but if he does, then again, as you say, he's got the Rangers connection, which some fans are obviously calling out for, and I know you're saying there that would be the dream that he comes and delivers for years. I'm sure that's a dream for some and probably a nightmare for others that it does come. I don't mean the come and get success. Obviously, we love that, but I don't think it will be a full house on Derek McInnes getting the job. Ultimately, though, if he does come and be successful, yeah, certainly, that's going to go.
It's this attitude. I mean, I've been a Rangers supporter since I was a wee boy, so I'm 61 years old now. I'm a Rangers supporter till the day I die. But what I find really annoying to me right now is this offensive attitude about, oh, he's knocked his back once. We don't want anything to do with anybody that knocks Rangers back. Get your feet back in the ground. Come on to hell here. Come on. Jesus. I mean, the man's done so well. We went down to Kilmarnock, we went down to Rugby Park in the first game of the season, and he knew what we were going to do. He rode our tactics, he knew everything he was going to do, and he did it. And he buggered up. He's buggered up our season. So if you're saying that he's not the man that can do things like that, there you go. And just a wee quickie here, I applaud the management partnership of Steve Davis and Alex Rae, because they're two guys that will not mess about, especially Alex Rae. He's a wee guy like myself. He loves to get in there and about it. He'll sort that dressing room out. And if it needs to be things done like Tavernier stripped to the captain strip and all the rest of it, so be it. But we are in a dire situation now. Don't talk to me about Gallardo for Argentina. What does an Argentinian know about Scottish football? Right? The Dutch guys, we've tried them before, okay? I've got Arthur Newman and Ronald de Boer on there bumming up the AZ Alkmaar manager, and I can't remember his name off the head. No, let's keep it local here for a rolling contract for at least a year and see what he can do. Can we do that?
Right, we'll take Alex. Let me take it around the boys because it'll be good to hear what they want to say about it. Ian, Derek McInnes, is he for you?
No, for me. On the foreigners, Dick Advocaat didn't do too bad, did he?
Is that your answer? Is that your answer to me, Dick Advocaat?
That's my question to you.
Well, my question to you, well, why doesn't De Boer stand up then and do something? Advocaat's an old man now. Do you know what age Advocaat is right now?
That wasn't my question. My question, you were going on about foreign managers, and my question to you was, Dick Advocaat did not do too bad, did he?
At the end of the day, no, he didn't do too bad. There you go. There's my answer.
Well, and I don't think McInnes is a man either. He's too defensive.
Right. Cool. Lads, let's move on to Roy.
Well, he wouldn't cost as much as he wouldn't cost as much. He wouldn't cost as much as some of the nonsense you're looking at. And you can forget Lampard for a start, okay? Right, sorry, Alex, go carry on.
Right, you can't talk here, folk, mate. Let's just give each other a chance to speak. Let's just been good enough to let you talk.
Yeah. Right. I'm a Rangers supporter, man. I'm a wee bit upset now, you know?
I know, but let's say we all want to give an opinion on what you're asking us, so let us go around everybody and get the opinion. Roy.
Well, look, my apologies. That's the way I've been all my life. I like to get right in amongst it, you know?
Aye. No reason to apologise, mate. You're doing all right. Just everybody's a bit emotional at the moment, so it's okay, right?
Well, your opinion on Derek McInnes?
Well, do you know what? I don't think Derek McInnes is the man, because I just don't see where the aspirations of the club he can take it to, because I think probably domestically, like he could probably get us a win, but I don't see where he can take us
domestically. I thought domestically was our number one priority.
It could be, but as Rangers fans, we also want to do well in Europe. So, you've got a very valid point, mate. You've got a very
here. We've got to stop them winning.
Right, Alex, mate, I'm going to let you go, bud. Right, we've got to take your point around the guys because, like I says, you keep talking to the boys and that. So we'll take your point around the
apologies.
boys.
Look, just give me another chance, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, carry on.
Right, so
I'll shut up.
Alex,
Right,
you're fine. You're just very passionate. It's no problem. Emotions are high at the moment, so
yeah,
don't
I'll
apologise.
keep
The guys
quiet.
are
Don't
just trying
worry.
to have a
Carry on.
conversation.
I just want. On you go. Carry on.
Right. So my understanding from what I believe is Derek McInnes is a good manager. He is a Rangers man, supposedly. I'm not too sure if he is or not. He's never made himself very clear across the years if he actually is a pure Rangers man, but he seems to be more Rangers than anything else. So what I would like to see, which I think is achievable, is there is managers available, and I would like to see them take someone from the Dutch league. I know you said that you don't like it, but you've got managers available like Ruud van Nistelrooy. Their league is a little bit above us. And no, hold on. Let me finish my point. They're tactically very good. They can bring in good Dutch players. Ruud at one point was potentially going to be a Rangers player until Alex Ferguson gave him a call to go to Man United. He's also played at Ibrox. He understands what it's all about. If I was to look at the available managers right now, my preferential manager would have been Ruud van Nistelrooy. If I was to go back 3-4 years ago, I would have taken the Boer brothers as the next Rangers manager, because I just don't believe that the Scottish managers that are available to us now are good enough to take our club to the next level, and that's a personal opinion.
Well said, Roy. I'll just cut across you. I'll just cut across, mate, because we've been joined with another caller, mate. Bob Jair, how you doing, mate?
How you doing? I'm just listening to the discussion there. I just had to join in and say, we've been doing the Dutch road before it. We went doing it with Advocat very successfully, very expensively, but as we all know. And we went doing it again with Van Bronckhorst, and it worked out to an extent. I don't know if we should go down that road again. Does see anybody that inspires you at the moment to be the manager? Anyone?
Right, let me take that bit point around the boys then. JM, you first, mate. From the list of people, who jumps out to you? And just give me a name, and then I'll take it around the boys.
No comment. I've got to admit, none of them particularly stand out to me. If I've been, it wouldn't have been anyone I've been looking at anyways. That might be my lack of sort of European knowledge, but doing my sort of look, sort of through the stuff, whatever. I was gonna say it, maybe Jansen. Just just having a look at those stuff earlier. I'll just if he's going to be involved, just looks like he can command a dressing room, different things. We don't maybe I just think it looks like possibly. We're just looking for his stats. His win percentages isn't the greatest, but he's not maybe been playing with the best teams in the league. I think we've got to accept we're not going to get the complete package. There's going to be pros and cons to all of them, and unfortunately, we've got to put a little bit of faith in this board and point in the manager, and we've got to get behind him. But there's going to be pros and cons to anyone that comes in.
Robert, anybody that just jumps at you quickly, mate?
Can I say Stevie and Southside?
They'll be sacked in 2 months' time.
No, again, I'm like Jayam. I'm looking at the betting slips, and these people are named because either they've done well recently, they're doing not bad at their club, or they're a free agent. A name that maybe springs out, I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. Maybe could I see Bielsa crouching down on the touchline? I don't know, but he's certainly maybe not one that would take any stick as well, and he would certainly tell how it is. But unfortunately, we're in that predicament of we've started a season where the best is maybe at a club, and we're maybe not going to pay that money out for them. So it's where who's available, and obviously how much it's going to cost if they're on a job to get them to come to Rangers as well. So again, no name really grasping, but maybe Bielsa out of all them.
Ian, if you had all the money available to you, and you're sitting on that Rangers board, and you're looking at the list of names. It's been tweeted about the betting slips. Who are you going for?
There's none that actually jump out the woodwork and say, "Aye, I'll do it." But it's a difficult position to fill. But I'd go with Beale as well, because I mean, before he left Leeds, he was actually he got them playing a good tune.
Mm-hmm.
Good fast attacking football. And it's what we want, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Roy, mate, your choice out of the numerous names that's on that big betting slip, mate. There's a few.
I'd probably just go with the guys like the Beale. Probably, if you want to go with a foreign coach, I would probably take it. As I said, I think that Ruud van Nistelrooy would be a great coach for Rangers. He did well at PSV. He's got a good catchment. He hasn't failed like Lampard. So, and he would change Rangers, I think, from a coaching perspective. He's also a winner. And more importantly, I think he could get a tune out of those strikers that are not maybe performing so much these days. So, if we had the option to bring Ruud in, I think I would take Ruud, to be honest.
I'm liking the choices. Bob, do you think it's got to be a name, or do you think it's more important that the guy's just got the right credentials, being a proper manager?
No, I think it's down to credentials. You've got to be able to do the job, a huge job. I don't know. I'm at loggerheads with it. I'm like a lot of people. I just don't know. I was sitting talking about it this morning, dinner time, the evening, and now on the Great Rangers Radio. I really don't know. Muscat, well, a lot of people think that he's going to come in and do what Postecoglou did. I don't know. I'd love to see it, but nah. I really don't know, lads. I haven't got an answer to it. But whoever it is, I'll get behind them. I'll get behind every Rangers manager.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, the board will be sitting there now, and like Muscat could be a fantastic manager for Rangers. He could come in, he could bring that attacking football that everybody's saying that he does, and he could win titles. But it could go the other way as well with a guy of that name. It's going to be a very, very hard choice, I think, for the board to get this one right, because as much as everybody's saying it's a very important appointment, they're in a hard on the rock place because they can't see into the future. We don't know if these guys are going to be suited to the Scottish League.
No, you never know. And obviously, Beale being a Ross man, this will be their first appointment without a director of football. And I just worry if what hadn't happened with old Big Andrew over the road, would we even be looking at Muscat? I just hope that that's not, if we are going down that road, it's got to be for the right reasons and not the lazy option. Just hoping that it's automatically going to do the same thing because of a similar track record, even though he's actually, I think, won a few more trophies than he had by that point. But I just hope if we're appointing him, it's for the right reasons. And I'm just wanting to go through this. Nobody just going around. Would nobody be happy if we heard tomorrow that Frank Lampard was going to be in charge?
Oh, he's bringing. He has got traction. I'll take it.
That's what I mean. There's a lot of traction and people involved. I'm just wondering, would everybody? I see a lot of fans saying absolutely not. However, just wonder everyone here they're saying, would they be disappointed if they heard that Frank Lampard was going to be our new manager?
Right, I'll take that to Robert. I don't want to answer that one just quite yet. Robert, fire away, mate.
Are you asking me if I would take Lampard? Is that the question? Or if I would be happy? Is that two different questions?
Well, answer the two of them.
Would I take him? No. Would I be happy? No. But if he's a manager of my club, I'll support him. Do you know what I mean? But it wouldn't be my picking. I don't think... To me, Lampard is almost like a Gerrard type of appointment where you're bringing a name. You should not need to bring a name to Rangers Football Club to attract players. The team name alone and the stature of your club should be enough. And that should be the same for managers as well as players. But I don't think Lampard would be the right appointment. He's obviously had a somewhat okay spell at Derby, but everything else, nothing. And if he didn't gets sacked by Everton, he would have been in the Championship with Everton this season, or he would have been sacked anyway, but Everton would be in the Championship. So I don't think that's a wise appointment. And again, is it just because we're basing him on Frank Lampard, who's been at a Rangers game before? Is that what we're basing it on? Or is it because he's a free agent?
The $1 million question, isn't it? Roy, would you think, mate, Frank Lampard, if he chapped the door tomorrow and they gave him the keys to the manager's office, do you think that the fans would be happy? Would you be happy with it?
I don't think the fans are happy, but I think beggars can't be choosers in some capacity. I mean, the guy has managed one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's managed big players. I don't think when he went to Everton, he had a good scenario to make himself successful. I mean, even look at Chelsea now. Even now, when he had it, like, it's still a mess. So really, I mean, would I be totally annoyed? No. I think Rangers fans wouldn't accept it, but I mean, I think if he was appointed tomorrow, I would give him a chance. That's all I can say. I'm not negative one way or positive the other. I think we need a manager that can potentially bring good players to our club. I think the guy's a winner, which I think is important. I think the guy's a real winner. He really wants to win, and I think for him, looking at Rangers as a new career, he's really got to make this work. Like, if he doesn't work at Rangers, his career is finished. So I think he's really got a point to prove. And do you know what? If the board can also back what he wants to achieve, then again, maybe he can bring some decent players to the club. And that's how I see it. I'm 50-50 with it, but I think majority of Rangers fans would be against it.
Bob, Jared, I think I'm in the same kind of thinking Roy there. Is that it's 50-50 if it was Frank Lampard. I think he's got good connections. He's shown he was decent at Derby. Chelsea, he built a team on basically, what was it? No, they had that transfer embargo as well. Granted, obviously Chelsea's academy is amazing, but like I says, he's got some bits to him that I think would be really good, and could bring good talent to our football club. But the other side of it, when you seen him at Everton and that, it didn't go well, and that's the only bit that kind of worries me about Frank. If he came into our setup, how does he work with a squad that's not very talented?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's Frankie Lampard ended up at Everton, who one of England's eternally struggling clubs, and he couldn't make it any better. As the boys said there earlier on, they put them in the Championship. Like I say, I'm in the dark about a lot of this. It's Christ, how can I put it? It's a strange situation where you've got a gigantic club like Rangers and the support was so divided on, because I think we feel that we can't make a mistake this time. Made a mistake with Captaincy, made a mistake with Beale. We can't afford that again. It's a gamble. And a lot of us feel that Frank Lampard would be a gamble. It didn't work out for him at Chelsea, and it certainly never worked out for him at Everton. And we can't afford to have it no working out at Rangers. So I would say no to Frank Lampard. I would. What about the Bodo Glunt? Does anybody fancy the Bodo Glunt's manager? I know there's a difference in the size of the clubs, but...
2 minutes, Bob, just to get JM's thoughts, because he was the one that floated the Frank Lampard. I just want to know what JM thinks about Frank. JM, do you think it's an opportunity for Frank Lampard to rejuvenate his kind of managerial career at Rangers?
I think it's a chance. I think Frank Lampard will be knocking on the door. I don't think it's an appointment the board should be making with his sort of the reasons that people have just said there. I think we appoint Lampard with how he's just got on there at Everton, how he sort of got on the back end of Chelsea, and he doesn't hit the ground running. There'll be a lot of people upstairs losing their jobs as well as Lampard. I don't think it's an appointment the board will keep making. I think it's a job that Frank Lampard would love to take at the moment.
Bob, Jerry, you're also talking about the Glint manager there. One thing I hope the board are not going to do is listen to kind of the betting slips and all that. The all the managers that are getting touted about. I really do hope that they've maybe looking outside the box, if you know what I mean. Like maybe they've got something else up their sleeve. And
well, there might be a surprise, Could be a surprise.
I think it would be lazy, I think, if they just went down the road Muscat. I think it would just be a lazy appointment because it's just a name that's been kicking about for donkeys, really, with Rangers. So, but it's got to be interesting, mate. The Glint one, do you fancy him? Do you think, because he's got a couple of titles behind him as well?
Well, he's got a small club playing excellent football, apparently, but there's a difference between a small club in Norway and a huge club like Glasgow Rangers. As I say, we can't afford a mistake, boys. Can't afford it. It's got to be done right. And that's why I'm glad that they're taking their time. They're taking their time. I'm not just going, right, you're the manager of Rangers. They're taking their time on this. Frank Lampard, it didn't work at Chelsea. He was put into the job too quick, and it certainly never worked out for him at Everton, the state they were in. So, I really don't know, lads. I'm coming here tonight and enjoyed the discussion, joined in the discussion. It's great. But I'm really undecided like the rest. And that's the problem we're supping to the new about it all, is undecided. So we'll have to wait and see what transpires in the next couple of weeks.
Robert, I think that's the thing, isn't it? We've tried the likes of Gio, we've tried Beale, who's kind of a novice manager, we've tried Gerrard. I think that's why we're nervous about this next appointment, because our kind of record's been kind of up and down, and we've never really went out and got a tried and tested manager. They've all kind of been, I mean, Gio to a certain extent had managed other clubs, but his record wasn't great, and I think this time we really do need some experience if we're going to hire the next manager.
We do, mate, and that's why I've said no matter who the manager is, whether it's from the Scottish League, Netherlands, Germany, whoever it may be, we need a bit of a link between the manager and the board, and for me that would be the best way to move forward. You cannot get the balance of football and business as a whole, but ultimately as supporters we want to see the first team being successful, and that lies with the manager that comes in. Again, we'll see over the coming days and weeks who that may be. It's certainly a decision that I'm glad I'm not making, and I'm hoping the board just make the right one and we aren't sitting here discussing another managerial change in less than a year.
Well said, mate, well said. Bob, do you have final thoughts, mate, because it's getting to that time in the night, mate?
Aye, again, great discussion, as always. The only show in the media that gets better every time, Rangers Radio. We're just in a state of indecision, like I said. We'll have to see what transpires over the next couple of weeks. But the one thing I'm glad about is that they are going to take their time this time. I know you're going to snatch at somebody. They'll have to get it right. That's my take on it. And I'll say good night to you all, lads, and thanks for your company again.
Cheers, Bob. Always a pleasure, mate, having you on the show, bud. JM, final thoughts, bud?
Yeah, cheers for tonight, mate. Good call. Some good discussion. But it got a bit heated at times. But no, interesting times ahead, isn't there? But I think now, for now, until we hear any more, it seems uncertain. We've just got to give a hi Stephen Davis and the guys for Thursday. Another important European game. More money into the club, hopefully with a good result. And, you know, another win puts us closer to European football after Christmas. So some positives if we can get a couple of wins this week.
Cheers, mate, and thanks for coming on tonight. Just a big thank you to all the callers tonight. We had old Davey, Derek, Darren, Roy, Ian, our very own Bob Chair, and Alex.
No problem.
Big thank you to Robert and JM. Big thanks to the technical guys, Fox and Old School Blue, and big thanks to Oxchair on the phones tonight. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night speaking about all things Rangers. Good night.